Hi everyone, welcome to one of the most interesting projects involving economic forecasts of any type. Here we use something known as remote viewing to predict certain digital information accurately over a fixed forecast period. Now this forecast focuses on the cryptocurrency known as Bitcoin, and the forecast period is from January 20th through May 20th, which is a 4-month forecast. Remote viewing is a mental process that allows for the transfer of information across time and space. I'm Courtney Brown, Director of the Farsight Institute, where we conduct a broad range of experiments using remote viewing in a large variety of settings and across a great many topics. Remote viewing was originally developed by the United States military and used for espionage purposes. However, Farsight is civilian, and we use remote viewing for scientific investigations and for exploration. Now, before I move on to our forecast for Bitcoin, let me mention that we just published updated results in tabular form that shows how we have done so far with our 3 and 4 month cryptocurrency forecasts from May 15, 2018 through January 18, 2019. You can easily see which predictions we made and which ones were accurate and which ones were inaccurate. Remember that no forecasts of any type made by anyone are going to be perfect all the time. But we have a very good track record so far, and we are getting even better at this as our experience with this public project continues. So I encourage you to go to our website to see the summary of our results. We will update these results as each new forecast is completed, and you can find the link to the results on our website and in the description section below this video. But before we begin, it is important that you understand our disclaimer. No one at Farsight is a licensed financial advisor, so anything that anyone at Farsight does that relates to using remote viewing to predict financial or economic outcomes of any type, including the selling prices of cryptocurrencies, is done for entertainment and educational purposes only. Everyone doing investments are doing so at their own risk. These are experiments in remote viewing, and there are no guarantees or warranties being made, either expressed or implied. Nonetheless, these efforts are truly interesting on a grand scale, and I personally believe that after we do this for a while, it will be hard for anyone to ignore the reality of remote viewing. Now, for those of you who want to know more about our forecasting methodology, we have published a video called Farsight's Forecasting Method, and you can find it on our website as well as on our YouTube channel, Farsight Press. Each remote viewer examines 2 targets in this forecast. The first target applies to the high price of Bitcoin during the forecast period, and that is target 9A. The second target applies to the low price of Bitcoin during the forecast period, and that is target 9B. Now, after you see the sessions from all viewers for both targets, I will interpret the results numerically to give you a clear and simple set of predictions regarding prices and timings. Now, the remote viewers are among the absolute best on the planet currently, and they are Princess Janae, Melina Hall, and Kamaya Dunson. All 3 have been trained here at Farsight to use our methodology, and they have been working full-time with remote viewing using our methodology for a long while. We start with the results for currency target 9A, which relates to the high price of Bitcoin over the forecast period. The sessions are all very short, since the viewers are summarizing data that they obtained while conducting sessions using paper and pen. So this is not live remote viewing as we do with our Time Cross and Mysteries projects. Rather, these are summaries of what the viewers got, and this will allow me to step you through the analysis of the data. Beginning with Princess Janae and then Melina Hall and then Kamaya Dunson, here are the perceptual data for target 9A. The data will not seem the same for each viewer, since all of the viewers are given different targets for their sessions. They only know that the target is 9A, and that it is unique for each viewer. Again, these data correspond to the high price of Bitcoin over the 4-month period from the 20th of January through the 20th of May, 2019.
This is currency 9A. My basic gestalts for this currency are land, water, and structures. I have a semi-urban environment near water. It seems to have a cliff nearby with some foliage around here. The land is generally very, very flat, kind of rugged environment. I have a mixture of urban and natural. The land is generally very, very flat, kind of rugged environment. I have a mixture of urban and natural. 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 I have a mixture of environment here. Lots of structures, some rather tall here, others a little shorter, smaller. The non-surface structures have a lot of moving energy components to it. I have subjects here throughout. I also have, again, lots of water. The water seems to be moving, have some movement to it. I'm having hills nearby, not mountains. They're not steep peaks, but it is a hilled land. And again, the water is extensive on one side here. Again, the water is very extensive, mostly on one side. There's land with some hills, and the land has numerous structures here clustered together, clustered throughout the center. Many subjects on the land, very small crowd. The format of the land and water ratio with the structures sort of reminds me of Chicago, where you have your city and your land and the water surrounding it.
Today I have two targets, currency 9A and currency 9B. Starting with currency 9A, my basic concepts are land, water, peaks, structures, and also movement. This is my first visual for currency 9A. This is my first visual for currency 9A. I have irregular topography in the back, basically peaks, big wide peaks in the back. I have this structure right here. It seems to be a moving structure, a ground structure, hard metallic here. This one structure here feels like a building, a man-made building here, and steep peaks also below. And I'm getting water here in this area, in the middle between land, water, and also the peaks behind. And a lot of natural smells around this area, and just man-made structures around, but majority of extensive land all over this whole area. The temperature here is very moderate. Winds, but it's like warm winds, but also cool up above where the peaks are. Moving on to my second visual for 9A. This is my second visual for currency 9A. I have big, wide, huge peaks in the back. The temperature here is very cool. Winds here. I have foliage here around this area. Lots of green, brownish colors around here. I'm getting wet areas like water in the middle. Still have this one structure here, more like a boat structure here, and also another structure above it. It's a metallic flying object there, and the water seems to be moving this way. Seems like a large body of water, but just in the center of this whole area around the foliage. And there's also land here. The ground is very mush-like, but still like dirty and like just dirt and just natural ground. And also this structure here. Also this structure here in the distance as well. Seems like a man-made building or whatnot, but majority here I'm getting wide, extensive land with huge peaks behind. I'm also getting smoke as well. Smoke and mist around this whole area, so it's very fog-like above, but the ground is mostly clear where the water is, but it's very foggy up above this area from looking downward. And that's all I have for currency 9A.
Today I have two targets, currency 9A and currency 9B. In my first visual, I have these large peaking mountains in the background. I also have several clustered, pointed structures here as well. And then I also have one long non-surface structure next to all of these structures over here. I also have a larger structure that's more like castle-like. I also see colors of black, blues, and whites. And then I've also got either like rain or snow falling on these structures here. I also have subjects here. None of them are outside on the base surface. They all seem to be located inside of this main castle-like structure. Moving on to my second visual. So here I've got my mountains over here off to the side, and then I've got open land. I also have this cluster of tall peaking structures here, and then everything out here seems to be all water.
Now let's do some analysis based on these remote viewing data. To do the analysis using these data, remember that we construct the targets using CGI software after the forecast period is over. So the viewers are perceiving targets that are not yet fully constructed at the time that the sessions are done. How Bitcoin does over the 4-month forecast period will determine how the targets are constructed. By viewing how the targets will be constructed, we are getting information from the future and using it now to predict the future. To do this, we take the total number of possible target elements that could be used in creating the future targets. We subtract the number of elements that are found in something that we call a base target, which is a surface that the CGI software will use to construct the remainder of the target. And then we divide this into the number of new elements that the viewers perceive. This number is what we will use with our CGI software to construct the final target after the forecast period is over. Now, I know this sounds complicated, and it is, but this is what we do to send numerical information across time using remote viewing. Now the results. We start with a reference price for Bitcoin that occurs on the 18th of January 2019, and that is $3,674. So our predicted increases and decreases are based on percentage changes of that price. So what I'm going to give you now is the total rise in the price of Bitcoin that is expected during this 4-month period. But this rise will not necessarily happen from the reference price. It depends on what happens first. If a drop happens first, then the price rise will occur from the bottom of the drop. But if the rise happens first, then the rise will be from the reference price. So after averaging the results for each viewer, the total price rise that you can expect for Bitcoin over the period from the 20th of January through the 20th of May 2019 is $1,903. These data indicate that we are going to experience significant positive price rises during this forecast period. Now let's look at the sessions for target 9B, which relates to the low price of Bitcoin. As before, starting with Princess Janae, then Melina Hall, and finally Kamaya Dunson. Here are the summaries of the remote viewing sessions for target 9B.
Currency 9B. My basic thoughts here are land and structures. The land is very bumpy or irregular, kind of rough and harsh here. It's a very dark environment, no water or foliage anywhere. I have very mountainous area out here in the back and one non-surface structure that has an odd shape, kind of like a spade or an onion. It's shaped roundish and just rather odd, like a spade or an onion. It has that shape to it. Lots of movement in the air, like a blizzard or a tornado with electricity. There's a lot of electricity in this target here, and there's a lot of movement in the air, circular movement or very vibrant and vigorous movement. 4 short, boxy structures here on the surface, and many subjects. There's a lot of subjects that's lined up here. I have here more subjects than structures.
Moving on to currency 9B. My basic gestalts are water, land, movement, and also structure. Starting with my first visual for currency 9B. I have a full body of water here. The water smells like a fresh, like salt water area. Very deep water. Getting a lot of bluish and sort of green colors, but majority of a nice light blue color. I'm getting these cloud dynamics, like very small, like it's like air, and you can see just the whiteness of like the mist of whatever's on the water. Here I have land and water here. Like I said, land is very warm and hot, and the water seems very cold. Here's my second visual for currency 9B. I have water and very windy temperatures, like it's very breezy here, very cold but also hot, like the wind is just so powerful in the air. There's foliage behind me, so I have these trees in the back. The sand is off-white, so I have like that off-white color, but it's also nice and just, it feels so soft, but the ground is warm. I have these big, huge rocks. They're like boulders. I have this grayish, like light gray color tone on the rocks. They're just very big. You can walk on them. And then I have like the land water here. So it's basically extensive water, just a wide body of water. And here's a huge metallic structure over this water. It seems man-made, and it seems to be moving above this whole area. And this is what I have for my second visual for currency 9B.
Now I will be moving on to currency 9B. Here I've got these large peaking natural like mountains of some sort, or like natural objects on the surface. And then I also have this like a path in between them, almost like there used to be a river there, but it's like all dried up. And then I also have two main structures here. This structure has like energy of some sort flowing through just the top of it, just the football shape of it. Then there's no subjects inside of this structure. This structure it's like bigger, and it looks more of like a castle of some sort. It's got these like onion-shaped structures on top of it, and then this one also has all of the subjects inside of it. So there's no subjects on the base surface. They're all inside of this structure right here. And this is all I have for currency 9B.
Now, using the same analytical approach for these data as we used for target 9A, the results for target 9B suggest that the price drop for Bitcoin over the 4-month period from the 20th of January through the 20th of May will be approximately $539. So, comparing the predicted price rise obtained from target 9A with the predicted price drop obtained from target 9B, we have a rise of $1,903 versus a drop of $539. So the rise in the price is expected to be more than 3 times the size of the drop. So now let's move on to timing. All 3 viewers used a specialized procedure to try to locate what we call inflection points in the price timeline. These are points in which there is a change in the direction of the price of Bitcoin, such as a peak or valley. Now, obviously, there will not be only one high and low price. The price trajectory will be bumpy throughout the entire 4-month period. So we want to know approximately when the most significant high and low bumps will dominate. Based on this, the best prediction that we have from these data is that the rise in the price of Bitcoin will happen during the first 2 months of the forecast period, whereas the low will occur during the months 3 and 4. Thus, the high will occur before the low. This means that starting from the 20th of January 2019, we are expecting the price of Bitcoin to rise approximately $1,903, and this should occur before March 20th. That should bring Bitcoin's price above $5,000. After that, the price should drop approximately $539, and that should happen between March 20th and May 20th. Again, cryptocurrency prices are very volatile in general, so expect a bumpy ride always. But on average, we expect the most significant price rise to occur before the drop. And overall, this seems like a favorable time for the price of Bitcoin, where the increases dominate the losses. So let me wrap up by saying that those of you who watch our forecast during the forecast period are essentially investing in making our forecasting project possible. It costs us a significant amount of money to make these forecasts, and without your support, we could not do this. So you are supporting us on the front lines, so to speak, giving us the means to advance and refine this forecasting technology. And I want to thank you for your support. Meanwhile, we will have our next report out in mid-May 2019, and that report will be another 4-month forecast for Bitcoin. We will continue to make modifications to our forecasting methods as we go along, keeping things that are appropriate given our data, adding new analysis elements, and improving the rest. May you follow your own intuitions, make wise investment decisions, and become rich. Thank you for supporting our efforts at Farsight. Together, we will change the world for the better. I'm Courtney Brown, Director of the Farsight Institute.